Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is an ongoing series to build a Tier 3 Active Directory Certificate Services on Windows Server 2025. In the previous videos, we configured our offline routes and intermediate CA and our domain controller, and as well as our CDP and AIA web server. Okay, so in this session, we are going to now install our enterprise issuing CA, which is going to be the online issuing CA for issuing certificates to our domain joined devices and users. We're also going to, in the long run, create our network enrollment services as well. Okay, so this is going to be pretty straightforward because we already configured two CAs before. This is going to be just a little bit different because it's going to be joined to our domain. So I am on Windows Server 2025 and I haven't joined this to our domain, CAPolabs.net. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to join this to our domain. So if I open our server manager and then click on local server, I can click on the name of the PC and then change the name from, I'm just going to name this issuing CA, and then I'm going to join it to our domain. So it's CAPolabs.net, and I'm going to click OK. When it asks for our domain account, I'm going to use our administrator account. I'm typing the username, password. Okay, we should be welcomed to the domain. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to restart this server. Okay, so I'm going to log in with our labs administrator account. Log in as a different user and administrator at labs.net. Okay, so when we were configuring our intermediate CA, we noticed two errors. One error where it couldn't verify the chain of the certificate. It was just basically saying, hey, I don't trust this root certificate. And the reason why I didn't trust it is because the root certificate wasn't in the local trusted certificate authorities store. We don't want to replicate that same error here. Like, I want to, have us have a clean installation without any error. And then the second error was the revocation. It wasn't able to check or download the revocation list of the offline root CA. And then we, intentionally did that, and then we rectified that, right? We resolved that issue. So we are going to, have a clean installation. We don't want to have any errors on this CA. The previous one, we intentionally did that to learn and solve our own issues. Okay, so I want every domain joined Windows device to have our root CA under the local trust certificate authorities and the intermediate certificate authorities. So we're going to use group policy to push this into our trusted certificate authorities for every domain joined device for Windows. Okay, so let's go back to our issuing CA and let's take a look at the trusted certificates authorities for this local machine. I'm going to open MMC and I'm going to add a new snapping. Then I'm going to go to certificates, then I'm going to select computer account, then next, and then I'm going to look at the trusted root certificate authorities. Okay. At the moment we don't have CAPolabs root CA, we don't have it here. And if we look at our intermediate certificate authorities as well, we don't have our issued intermediate CA. Okay, so we want to use group policy because this is joint or domain to push to this location. All right, so I'll open group policy and we're going to create a new group policy. I want it to be at the root of our domain, so I'm going to right click and then create a group policy in this domain and link it here. I'm going to name this certificate. No, let me name this trusted certificate. Let me just do it CA. This is a lab, right? So trusted certificate authorities. Okay, so I'm going to click OK and I'm going to edit this group policy, and I'm going to go to computer configuration, then policies, and then Windows settings, then we'll go to security settings, and then we'll go to public key policies, and then we're going to look for trusted certificate authorities. We don't have any here, so I'm going to right click here and then import, and we're going to select our very first root CA for this lab, DC01. The file, well, I'm on the DC itself, so there was no need of doing that. Okay, so I'm going to select our root CA certificate. This is what we need to import in the trusted root certificate. Okay, we're going to give it some time for it to finish importing that. Okay, so this is complete, and now if I go to intermediate certificate authorities, I want to import our intermediate CA, which is our offline intermediate CA. So I'm going to select this first option. Okay, and we have a successful importation. So I'm going to close this out, and now if I update group policy, usually when you create a group policy, domain joined devices will take about 60, I think it's 90 to 120 minutes for it to be effect on all domain joined Windows devices or devices. Okay, so I want to use GP group policy update /force to pull any newly created or any modified group policy from our domain controllers. So basically that's what I'm doing. So this is complete. Now if I refresh this, we should have our new offline root CA. Sorry, intermediate CA. We are under the intermediate certificate authorities, right? So we imported our CAPolabs intermediate CA, and then now if we go to our root CA, and then if we refresh this, we should now see CAPolabs root CA. Okay, so when we're installing our CA, we shouldn't have that trust chain error. Okay, now before we do the installation, we're going to create the CAPolicy.inf. Remember, we explained what it is in the video when we were configuring our offline root CA. Okay, so this is going to be pretty much the same process for all the CAs that we created. I'm just going to copy my own CAPolicy.inf file that I created for this CA. So I want the CA certificate to be valid for only 10 years. And then the other line that I added is load default templates to 0. So when we create this CA, I don't want to have any templates that can issue or that we publish to Active Directory. Alright, so we're just going to have our own, we are going to modify our own templates and publish them to Active Directory. So that is why it's really important that you create this CAPolicy.inf file, because there are some configurations that you can't configure using the GUI interface. Alright, okay, so I want to change the name to CAPolicy.inf. Make sure you have the spellings correct, if not, and the extension correct. If not, your Active Directory certificate services won't be able to read from this policy. Okay, so now let's go and add our Active Directory certificate services. I'm going to select Active Directory certificate services. I'm going to add that. Click on next, and we're going to install just certificate authority. At the moment, we'll talk about some of these roles as well as we progress into this series. So I'm going to click next and then just install. Okay, so this is complete. We're going to click close and configure Active Directory certificate services on this server. I'm going to be using our administrator account for our CAPolabs.net account, domain. So I'm going to click on next, and then we're going to select certificate authority, and we're going to click next. CA type. Now we have the option to select a standalone CA and an enterprise CA. Remember, when configuring the offline route, this enterprise CA was grayed out because they weren't joined to the domain. However, this is joined to our domain, so we have the option to select an enterprise CA. So this is what we need. So I'm going to click next, and then this is going to be a sub CA. I'm going to click next, and then we want it to create its own private key. I'm going to leave everything here as default, and then I'm going to click next, and then here I'm going to name this CAPolabs issuing CA. Okay, so I'm going to click next. If I want, I can add the organization to this. Let me just add it. Let's add O equals PKI consulting, something like that. Yep. And then I'm going to click next. Okay, so this is the CSR, the location our CSR will be placed, and we can pick it from there. Then I'm going to click next. I'm just going to leave everything else as default. Next, and then configure. Okay, and I'm going to click close. Now, if we open our certificate authority, just going to leave it here. Now we're going to sign our certificate signing request from our certificate authority. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to place that under O1, our file share. Okay, let me delete all of this. I don't need this anymore. Okay, let me paste this here. Now we have to go back to our issuing CA, so our intermediate CA, and then issue this certificate. So our root CA issued our intermediate CA, and our intermediate CA is now going to issue our issuing CA. So I'm going to right click on it, go to all tags, submit a new request, and we're going to go to our file share DC01. Then I'm going to select this. Now if we come to pending request, I'm going to refresh this. Give it some time for it to... Okay, so this is my second time seeing this thing here. And it's my first time installing ADCS on Active Directory. So, sorry. This is my first time installing Active Directory on Windows Server 2025. So I'm going to blame that on the Windows Server 2025. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this, go to all tags, and then issue. Okay, now if we go to issue certificates, we can take a look at the set that we issued. It should be valid for 10 years. Okay, so from 2025 to 2035, right? Then we can look at the CRL distribution point. This is where we can download our CRL information, and our AIA information can be downloaded from here. Okay, so we're going to export this certificate, and as I said, I like to use PKCS 7. I shouldn't have closed it. Okay, go to details, copy, next, and I'm going to select PKCS 7, the next, and I'll place it here. I'm too lazy, so I don't want to keep that in. I could have just give it any name, but okay. So now we have our issued certificate, and we don't need this intermediate CA again until our issuing CA is about to expire. So I'm going to turn this off, alright, to save some of my resources. Alright, now let's go to our issuing CA and then try to install our issuing CA. And as I said, we shouldn't have any errors. If we have any errors, I'll be surprised. Right? Okay, so we'll go to DC01, and I'm going to select this, give it some time to load. Alright, so we didn't have that first trust chain error. Now we're going to start it, and we shouldn't have any errors getting the CRL or downloading the CRL of the intermediate CA. So they should start without any issues. Okay, so that is it for creating or installing our issuing CA. Now to take a look at the health of this issuing CA, we can open PKI view.msc, and we can take a look at the health of our PKI environment. Give me some time for it to load. I'm going to refresh this. Okay, so our roots is okay. Our intermediate, we have an okay here. And then our issuing CA, we have an okay as well. At the moment, it's publishing our AIA information to LDAP, publishing our base CRL to LDAP, publishing our Delta CRL to LDAP as well. But we want to make changes to that. We want it to publish our Delta CRLs and also our base CRLs to PKI .CAPolabs.net. So we're going to make changes to that. Okay. Now, while this is opening, I also want to let you know we created a web server, and then we created a set enroll folder where we want this issuing CA to automatically publish CRLs. We don't want to keep copying that information, so we're going to tell it to do that as well. Right? So let's take a look at our LDAP configuration. I'm just going to leave everything here as it is. Okay, so I'm going to remove these two options. Alright, and then I'm going to click add, and I'm going to select all of this. Just going to do the same thing that we did for publishing or hosting our offline root and intermediate CA. Okay, CAPolabs.net. Okay, I'm going to click OK, and then select these two options as usual. And then now we want this CA to publish the CRL to the web server location. All right, we want it to publish the CRL to this location. We want it to publish the CRL to this set enroll location. And also remember, when we did the sharing, we granted set publishers group some permission to be able to publish to this location, right? And I mentioned earlier on, the set publishers group will contain every domain joined certificate authority, right? And then we can take a look at that as well. Let's validate that. If I go to my domain and go to Active Directory users and computers and expand, and then go to users, and if you look at set publishers, and then if we look at members, we have issuing CA, which is the name of our issuing CA or our certificate authorities server, right? So we could have granted it that permission, but instead we're using that group, right? So now we're going to tell our issuing CA to publish CRLs to that location. Right, so I'm going to copy this as well, and here I'm going to type web server .CAPolabs.net, and this is a file share, so I'm going to type file, and let me make sure I'm getting the correct name, web server.CAPolabs.net, and then the name of the directory is set enroll. If you have a different name, make sure you change it here. And then I'm going to say publish CRLs to this location, and then publish Delta CRLs to this location. Okay, and then I'm going to now select AIA, and I'm going to remove everything else except the LDAP location, and then we're going to add the same information as well. So I'm going to copy all of this, and then we are going to have PKI .CAPolabs. I can't spell my own name correctly. Alright, PKI.CAPolabs.net. and then click OK. Include in the AIA extension of the issue certificate. We'll talk about OCSPs in one of our series. Okay, so now I'm going to click apply and then click yes. It's going to restart. Now if we look at our web server and then go to set enroll, we haven't published our issuing CA, CRL and Delta CRLs here, so we're going to publish that. I'm going to click OK. Let's take a look at the revoked certificate first. This is valid for 1 week, and Delta CRLs are published for 1 day. So now let's talk about the differences between the Delta CRLs and the base CRL. So the base CRLs contains all the list of revoked certificates from our CA. Delta CRLs will only contain certificates that were revoked after our base CRL were published. So if we publish our CRLs today, our base CRLs today, which are valid for 1 week, and in 1 week time we'll publish new base CRL, any other certificates that are revoked from today, between today and the next time that we're going to publish our base CRLs, will be included in the Delta CRLs. Right? So if we publish our base CRL this week, the next week, in between that, any certificate that is revoked will be listed in the Delta CRLs. So clients can always download the base CRL and also the Delta CRL so they can get an accurate revoked certificate. Okay. If you have any questions on that, you can put that in the comment section. Right. So I will basically make this I would make it like 6 hours. Every 6 hours, I want this to publish new Delta CRLs. Okay. So I'm going to click apply and then OK. Now let's publish our new CRL, and then we hope that it should publish to that location both our base CRL and Delta CRLs. Okay, so let's go back to our issuing CA, and then we're going to select new CRL, which will also include our Delta CRL as well. So I'm going to click OK. And I assume this worked. If there was any error, we would have had this network share error popping up. Okay, so now let's go back to our web server, and here we are. We have our CAPolab issuing CA CRL and the CAPolab issuing CA plus.crl. This is the Delta CRL. Alright. Okay, so one last thing before we go is let's take a look at the templates. Remember when we configured our CAPolicy.inf file, we don't need any default templates. Okay, so I don't expect us to see any templates here. We're going to be creating our user templates, our computer templates. We're going to do a whole lot of different stuff as well when creating this template. So that is it for this session. Congratulations, we are done configuring a tier 3 Active Directory certificate services on Windows Server 2025. So I'll see you guys in the next session.